Okay, so sorry I got cut off in the last one. Let's see. So we answered 1 through 4 in the previous video. So if you missed any of those, please watch the first video. So now we're going to start with number 5. We're pretty much on it. Again, ignore page numbers because the PDF doesn't have them. So the question is, why do you think it's a bad thing that equality is so smart? So he was, like we talked about, the home of the infants. They're pretty much taken from their mothers at birth and raised together. He got in trouble a lot because he fought a lot. At 5 years old, he moved to the home of the students where you go to school for 10 years and learn everything you need to know. So we are right here. So we stopped at their Pledge of Allegiance. Every night before they go to sleep, they say, "We are nothing. Mankind is all. By the grace of our brothers are we allowed our lives. We exist through, by, and for our brothers who are the state. Amen." And then we slept. The sleeping halls were white and clean and bare of all things save 100 beds. We, Equality 72521, were not happy in those years in the home of the students. It was not that the learning was too hard for us. It was that the learning was too easy. This is a great sin, to be born with a head that is too quick. It is not good to be different from our brothers, but it is evil to be superior to them. The teachers told us so, and they frowned when they looked upon us. So if you go back to the discussion questions, number 5, why do you think it's a bad thing that equality is so smart? So think about it. He's smarter than all the other kids his age. He's smarter than a lot of the adults. Why is that bad for the society? So think about it in terms of the society. They want everyone to be the same. They want everyone to be alike. And in terms of intelligence, how smart do you think they want their people to be? Like if you were the head of this society and you wanted everyone to be the same, and this one kid who seems in our society to be of average smartness, maybe he's an honors student, but he's not like a genius. But why is it bad for the society and the government that he is too smart? Okay. Pause it if you need to. So we fought against this curse. We tried to forget our lessons, but we always remembered. We tried not to understand what the teachers taught, but we always understood it before the teachers had spoken. We looked upon Union 53992, who were a pale boy with only half a brain, and we tried to say and do as they did. And we might be like them, like Union 53992, but somehow the teachers knew that we were not, and we were lashed more often than all the other children. So when it says he has half a brain, he doesn't literally have half a brain. He has a mental handicap, but apparently that's good because he can't ever get too smart, this other kid. The teachers were just, for they had been appointed by the councils, and the councils were the voice of all justice, for they are the voice of all men. And if sometimes in the secret darkness of our heart we regret that which befell us on our 15th birthday, we know that it was through our own guilt. We had broken the law, for we had not paid heed to the words of our teachers. The teachers had said to us all, "Dare not choose in your minds the work you would like to do when you leave the home of the students. You shall do that which the Council of Vocations shall prescribe for you. For the Council of Vocations knows in its great wisdom where you are needed by your brother men, better than you can know it in your unworthy little minds. And if you are not needed by your brother men, there is no reason for you to burden the earth with your bodies." So pretty much at 15 years old, they go before the Council of Vocations, which, like I said before, chooses your job, and they're assigned a job, and they have to do it. And the teachers tell them, don't go choosing your own job. Don't go thinking that you can choose your own job because you can't. And if you want to make a choice like that, you are evil because it shows that you want better for yourself than what you should have. We knew this well in the years of our childhood, but our curse broke our will. We were guilty, and we confess it here. We were guilty of the great transgression of preference. We preferred some work and some lessons to the others. We did not listen well to the history of all the councils elected since the great rebirth. We loved the science of things. We wished to know. We wished to know about all the things which make the earth around us. We asked so many questions that the teachers forbade it. Apologize for the barking dog. Okay, so you can't choose your job. It's got to be chosen for you. He likes to learn about the science of things. It's just science, okay? He wants to know why the world is the way it is. We wish to know about all the things that make the world around us. We asked so many questions that the teachers forbade it. So finally, the teachers were like, you need to stop asking questions. You need to just sit down. We think that there are mysteries in the sky and under the water and in the plants which grow. But the Council of Scholars has said there are no mysteries, and the Council of Scholars knows all things. And we learned much from our teachers. Here's what he learned, and this is also number 6. Equality is describing what he was taught in school. What time period in history does this information remind you of? So remember, they're in the future. They had like a nuclear apocalypse. They used to have skyscrapers and cars and electricity and all these things. And this is what he learned in school. We learned that the earth is flat and that the sun revolves around it, aka the earth is the center of the solar system. Not the sun, the earth, which causes the day and the night. We learned the names of all the winds which blow over the seas and push the sails of our great ships. So instead of having like electric-powered ships or even steam-powered ships, they have sailboats. We learned how to bleed men to cure them of our... Apologize for the barking dog. There are children playing in the street. So we learned how to bleed men to cure them of all ailments. What period in time does that remind you of? What century? To me, it sounds an awful lot like 1700s and before, when they knew nothing about germs or about the solar system or about anything like that. And remember, they're in the future. They're like beyond us. And this is what he learned. So that would be the answer to number 6. So make sure you answer that. All right, now we're going to learn about his job. We loved the science of things, and in the darkness, in the secret hour when we awoke in the night and there were no brothers around us, but only their shapes and the shapes in the but only their shapes in the beds and their snores, we closed our eyes and we held our lips shut and we stopped our breath, that no shudder might let our brothers see or hear or guess. And we thought that we wished to be sent to the home of the scholars when our time would come. So he wants to be a scholar, which pretty much just means that he wants to keep learning when he's assigned a job. That's what he wants to do. All the great modern inventions came from the whole of the scholars, such as the newest one, which we found only 100 years ago, of how to make candles from wax and string, and also how to make glass, which is put on our windows to protect us from the rain. To find these things, the scholars must study the earth and learn from the rivers, from the sands, from the winds and the rocks. And if we went to the home of the scholars, we could learn from these also. We could ask questions of these, for they do not forbid questions. So it's only been, well, they founded the candle 100 years ago. So it's been at least 100 years since the nuclear war. And apparently the only great invention that's happened in that time is the candle and glass for windows. Now let me tell you something. They already knew about those things. They already had the technology for that. The government is purposely withholding technology like electricity and plumbing from its people. And you have to think, why would they do that? Why would they purposely not want their people to have electricity? There's a reason for it, and you learn more about why later. Keep pausing it to yell at my dumb dog who keeps barking at the children riding their bicycles. Oh, stress. Okay. All the great modern inventions, yep, candles, glass, fantastic. To find these things, they must study the earth, etc., etc. We could ask questions of these, for they do not forbid questions. And that's the big thing. He wants to know. And questions give us no rest. We know not why our curse makes us seek we know not what ever and ever, but we cannot resist it. It whispers to us that there are great things on this earth of ours, and that we can know them if we try, and that we must know them. We ask why we must know, but it has no answer to give us. We must know that we may know. That is so confusing, but all it means is he wants to know why the things on earth are the way they are. He wants to know where candles come from. He wants to know how glass is made. He wants to know how plants grow. He wants to be a scientist, but he's not allowed. He's not allowed to ask questions. And if you think about it, living in a society like that, where when you ask a question, you're told to shut up and sit down, or you're told because that's the way it is, that can be so frustrating and maddening for someone that just has questions and wants to know. So we wished to be sent to the home of the scholars. We wished it so much that our hands trembled under the blankets in the night, and we bit our arm to stop that other pain which we could not endure. It was evil, and we dared not face our brothers in the morning, for men may wish nothing for themselves. And we were punished when the Council of Vocations came to give us our life mandates, which tell those who reach their 15th year what their work is to be for the rest of their days. So there you have a little bit of foreshadowing that when he was finally assigned a job, it was given as a punishment. The Council of Vocations came on the first day of spring, and they sat in the great hall, and we, who were 15, and all the teachers came into the great hall, and the Council of Vocations sat on a high dais. It means like a platform. They sat on like a high platform, and they had but 2 words to speak to each of the students. They called the students names, and when the students stepped before them, one after the other, the council said carpenter, or doctor, or cook, or leader. And then each student raised their right arm and said, "The will of our brothers be done." Now, if the council has said carpenter or cook, the students so assigned go to work, and they do not study any further. But if the council says leader, then those students would go to the home of the leaders, which is the greatest house in the city, for it has 3 stories. Imagine that, a building with 3 stories, and that's like the biggest building in the city. Most houses have 3 stories today. And there they study for many years so that they may become candidates and be elected to the city council and the state council and the world council by a free and general vote of all men. But we wish not to be a leader, even though it's a great honor. We wish to be a scholar. So we awaited our turn in the great hall, and then we heard the Council of Vocations call our name, Equality 72521. We walked to the dais, and our legs did not tremble, and we looked up at the council. There were 5 members of the council, 3 of the male gender and 2 of the female. Their hair was white, their faces were cracked as the clay of a dry riverbed. They were old. They seemed older than the marble of the Temple of the World Council. They sat before us, and they did not move, and we saw no breath to stir the folds of their white togas. We knew that they were alive, for a finger of the hand of the oldest rose and pointed to us and fell down again. This was the only thing which moved from the lips of the oldest, did not move as they said, "Street sweeper." So go over to your chapter 1 discussion questions on page, it's 26 in the hard copy book, but you don't have to worry about it. What job is he given? And what is the reaction to receiving this job? Use a quote. So you can say right now what job he's given. He's given the job of a street sweeper. That gives his reaction. Let's read the next paragraph. We felt the cords of our neck grow tight as our head rose higher to look upon the faces of the council, and we were happy. We knew that we had been guilty, but now we had a way to atone for it. So he wants to make up for the fact that he had been wishing for a different job, okay? So he's happy because now he feels like he can make up for the sin, all right? Next video, we'll finish off the section.